Good evening, Carl. Sun is going down over Oxford, and we're coming to the second portion of Rikki, Tikki, Tabi. As you recall, last time when we left off, Rikki, Tikki, Tabi had just had his first encounter with the dreadful Naga Nagina, and encountered the deadly Karate, and is trying to save Teddy from that. So let's see how that goes. Teddy shouted to the house, "So look here, our mongoose is killing a snake." And Rikki Tikki heard a scream from Teddy's mother. His father ran out with a stick, but by the time he came up, Karate had lunged out once too far, and Rikki Tikki had sprung, jumped on the snake's back, dropped his head a bit far between his forelegs, bitten as high up as the back as he could get hold, and rolled away. Now that bite paralyzed Karate, and Rikki Tikki was just going to eat him up from the tail after the customers found him at dinner, when he remembered that a full meal makes a slow mongoose, and he wanted all his strength and quickness ready. He must keep himself thin. He went away for a dust bath under the castor oil bushes, while Teddy's father beat the dead Karate. "What is the use of that?" thought Rikki Tikki. "I've settled it all." And then Teddy's mother picked him up from the dust and hugged him, crying that he had saved Teddy from death. And Teddy's father said that he was Providence, and Teddy looked on with big, scared eyes. Rikki Tikki was rather amused by all the fuss, which, of course, he did not understand. Teddy's mother might just as well have petted Teddy for playing in the dust. Rikki was thoroughly enjoying himself. That night at dinner, walking to and fro among the wine glass on the table, he might have stuffed himself 3 times over with nice things. But then he remembered Naga Nagaina, and though he was very pleasant to be patted and petted by Teddy's mother, and to sit on Teddy's shoulder, his eyes would get red from time to time, and would have to go off his long war cry of "Rikki Tikki 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 Tick." Teddy carried him off to bed, and insisted on Rikki Tikki sleeping on his chin. Rikki Tikki was too well bred to bite or scratch, but as soon as Teddy was asleep, he went off for his nightly walk round the house. In the dark, he ran up against Chuchundra, the muskrat, creeping around by the wall. Chuchundra is a broken-hearted little beast. He whimpers and cheeps all in the night, trying to make up his mind to run into the middle of the room, but he never gets there. "Don't kill me," said Chuchundra, almost weeping. "Rikki Tikki, don't kill me." "Do you think a snake killer kills muskrats?" said Rikki Tikki scornfully. "Those who kill snakes get killed by snakes," said Chuchundra, more sorrowful than ever. "And how am I to be sure that Nag won't mistake me for you some dark night?" "There's not the least danger," said Rikki Tikki, "but Nag is in the garden, and I know you don't go there. My cousin Chua the rat told me," said Chuchundra, and then he stopped. "Told you what?" "Shh! Nag is everywhere, Rikki Tikki. You should have talked to Chua in the garden." "I didn't, so you must tell me. Quick, Chuchundra, or I'll bite you." Chuchundra sat down and cried till the tears rolled off his whiskers. "I'm a very poor man," he sobbed, "and I've had spirit enough to run out into the middle of the room." "Shh! I mustn't tell you anything. Can't you hear poor Rikki Tikki?" Rikki Tikki listened. The house was still as still, but he thought he'd hear the faintest scratch in the world. A noise as faint as that of a wasp talking on a window pane. The dry scratch of a snake's scales on brickwork. "That's Naga Nagaina," he said to himself. "He's crawling into the bathroom sluice. You're right, Chuchundra. I should have talked to Chua." He stole off to Teddy's bathroom, but there was nothing there. And then to Teddy's mother's bathroom. At the bottom of the smooth plaster wall there was a brick pulled out to make a sluice for bath water, and as Rikki Tikki stole in by the masonry curb, where the bath is put, he heard Naga and Nagaina whispering together out inside in the moonlight. "When the house is emptied of people," said Nagaina to her husband, "he'll have to go away, and then the garden will be our own again. Go in quietly, and remember, the big man who killed Karate is the first one to bite. Then come out and tell me, and we'll hunt Rikki Tikki together." "But are you sure there's anything to be gained by killing people?" said Nag. "Everything. When there are no people in the bungalow, did we have any mongoose in the garden? So long as the bungalow is empty, we are king and queen of the garden, and remember that as soon as our eggs in the melon bed hatch, as they may tomorrow, our children will need room and quiet." "I had not thought of that," said Nag. "I will go, but there's no need that we should hunt for Rikki Tikki afterwards. I will kill the big man and his wife, and the child if I can, and then come away quietly. Then the bungalow will be empty, and Rikki Tikki will go." Rikki Tikki tingled all over with rage and hate at this, and then Nag's head came over through the sluice, and his 5 feet of cold body followed. Angry as he was, Rikki Tikki was very frightened when he saw the size of the big cobra. Nag caught himself up, raised his head, and looked into the bathroom into the dark, and Rikki could see his eyes glitter. "Now, if I kill him here, Nagaina will know, and if I fight him on the open floor, the odds are in his favor. What am I to do?" said Rikki Tikki. Nag waved to and fro, and then Rikki Tikki heard him drinking from the biggest water jar that was ever used to fill the bath. That is good, said the snake. Now, when Karite was killed, the big man had a stick. He may have that stick still, but when he comes in to bathe in the morning, he will not have a stick. I shall wait here till he comes. Nagaina, do you hear me? I shall wait here in the cool till daytime. There was no answer from outside, so Rikki Tikki Tabi knew that Nagaina had gone away. Nag coiled himself down, coil by coil, round the bilge at the bottom of the water jar, and Rikki Tikki stayed as still as death. After an hour he began to move, muscle by muscle, towards the jar. Nag was asleep, and Rikki Tikki looked at his big back, wondering which were the best place to get a good hold. If I don't break his back at the first jump, said Rikki, he can still fight, and if he fights, oh, Rikki, he looked at the thickness of the neck below the hood, but that was too much for him, and a bite near the tail would only make Nag savage. Must be the head, he said at last. The head above the hood, and when I'm once there, I must not go. And then he jumped. The head was lying a little clear of the water jar under the curve, and as his teeth met, Rikki braced against the bulge of the red earthenware to hold down the head. This gave him just 1 second's purchase, and he made the most of it. Then he was battered to and fro as a rat is shaken by a dog. To and fro on the floor, up and down, round in great circles, but his eyes were red, and he held on to as the body whipped over the floor, upsetting the tin dip on the soap dish and the flesh brush, and banged against the tin side of the bath. And as he held, he closed his jaws tighter and tighter, for he made sure that he would be banged to death, and for the honour of his family, he preferred to be found with his teeth locked. He was dizzy, aching, and felt shaken to pieces when something went off like a thunderclap just behind him. A hot wind knocked him senseless, and red fire singed his fur. The big man had been wakened by the noise, and he fired both barrels of a shotgun into Nag just from behind. Rikki Tikki held on with eyes shut, for now he was quite sure he was dead. But the head did not move, and the big man picked him up and said, "It's the mongoose, Alice. The little chap has saved our lives now." Then Teddy's mother came in with a very white face, and she was left of Nag, and Rikki Tikki dragged himself to Teddy's bedroom and spent half the rest of the night shaking himself tenderly to find out where he was really broken to 40 pieces, as he fancied. When morning came he was very stiff, but well pleased with his doings. Now I've Nagaina to settle with, and she will be the worse than 5 nags, and there's no knowing where the eggs she spoke of will hatch. Goodness, I must go and see Darcy. Without waiting for breakfast, Rikki Tikki ran to the thorn bush where Darcy was singing a song of triumph at the top of his voice. The news of Nag's death was all over the garden, for the sweep had thrown the body on the rubbish heap. "Oh, you stupid tuft of feathers," said Rikki Tikki angrily. "Is this the time to sing?" "Nag is dead, is dead, is dead," sang Darcy. "The valiant Rikki Tikki caught him by the head and held fast. The big man brought the bang stick, and Nag fell in 2 pieces. He will never eat my babies again." "All true enough, but where's Nagaina?" said Rikki Tikki, looking carefully around him. Nagaina came to the bathroom sluice and called for Nag, Darcy went on. And Nag came out on the end of a stick. The sweeper picked him up on the end of a stick and threw him on the rubbish heap. They'll sing about the red-eyed Rikki Tikki. And Darcy filled his throat and sang. "If I get up to your nest, I'd roll your babies out," said Rikki Tikki. "You don't know when to do the right thing at the right time. You're safe enough in your nest there, but it's war for me down here. So stop stinging for a minute, Darcy." "For the beautiful Rikki Tikki's sake, I will stop," said Darcy. "What is it, O killer of the terrible Nag?" "Where is Nagaina for the 3rd time?" "On the rubbish heap by the stables, mourning for Nag, great as Rikki Tikki with white teeth." "Bother my white teeth. Have you ever heard where she keeps her eggs?" "In the melon bed, on the end nearest the wall, where the sun strikes nearly all day. She hid them there 3 weeks ago." "And you never thought it worth your while to tell me? The end nearest the wall, you said." "Rikki Tikki, you're not going to eat her eggs?" "Not eat exactly, no. Darcy, if you have a grain of sense, you will fly off to the stables and pretend that your wing is broken, and let Nagaina chase you away to this bush. I must get to the melon bed, and if I went there now, she'd see me." Darcy was a feather-brained little fellow who could never hold more than one idea at a time in his head, and just because he knew that Nagaina's children were born in eggs like his own, he didn't think at first it was fair to kill them. But his wife, meanwhile, was a sensible, and she knew that cobra's eggs meant young cobras later on. So it flew from her nest and left Darcy to keep the babies warm and continue his song about the death of Nag. Darcy was very like a man in some ways. She fluttered in front of Nagaina by the rubbish heap and cried out, "Oh, my wing is broken! The boy in the house threw a stone at me and broke it." Then she fluttered more and more desperately than ever. Nagaina lifted up her head and hissed, "You warned Rikki Tikki when I would have killed him. Indeed and truly you've chosen a bad place to be lame in. and she moved over towards Darzy's wife, slipping along the dust. "The boy broke it with a stone," shrieked Darzy's wife. "Well, it may be some consolation to know when you are dead, to know that I shall settle accounts with the boy. My husband lies on the rubbish heap this morning, but before night the boy in the house will lie very still. What is the use of running away? I am sure to catch you. Little fool, look at me." Darzy's wife knew better than to do that, for a bird who looks at a snake's eye gets so frightened she cannot move. Darzy's wife fluttered on, piping sorrowfully, never leaving the ground, and Nagaina quickened her pace. Now Rikki Tikki heard them going up the path for the stables, and raced for the end of the melon patch near the wall. There in the warm litter above the melons, very cunningly hidden, he found 25 eggs, about the size of Batam's eggs, but of whiter skin instead of a shell. And there we come to the end of the second portion of the tale of Rikki Tikki Tavi. See you tomorrow for the third. Love you to pieces, Carl.